Konnichiwa, Mina-san. Welcome to another episode of Backlog Brain Rot. Joining me for this very special episode today, I have my co-host, Sean. Sean, how are you doing?
Doing great. It's summer vacation. I'm in my peak gaming mode right now. I'm really enjoying it. The heat has been pretty crazy up here in the Northeast, but today it's like almost like a 25 to 30 degree difference today compared to
Oh,
yesterday.
wow.
Yesterday was like 102 Fahrenheit. Today is like 71.
Yeah, it's been really hot here too, close to Buffalo, which it's great because we got a new mini split for our bedroom this year and it's been running nonstop. It's been awesome. Like we have central air, but it doesn't really work upstairs and my office gets so hot. So I got a brand new like Medea U-shaped air conditioner and it's been amazing. Like it's so quiet, it's so cool. It's funny because it got like a recall on it, which isn't great because it's like I guess it's got some like mold issues, but I haven't noticed anything. And I have somebody coming to fix it, but they're like, "Oh, you should probably shouldn't run it." I'm like, "Yeah, right. I'm running this thing unless it makes me sick or I notice something because it has just been way too hot."
Yeah, I don't blame you there.
But yeah, Joanna also is a teacher, which obviously this year was a little different. But she always tries to like not make me too jealous for summer break because it's funny because she's a teacher and her sister in law is a teacher, so they're always like counting down to summer break, and then
hmm
her brother and is always like, "Oh yeah, so hard." Like because most jobs you don't get summer break, so it's nice, but we also get the you also don't get to choose your like vacations like most places like most jobs let you do. You have to do it when the school's out. So
Yeah, but yeah, it's peak gaming time.
yep, just in time for some Switch 2 gaming, but we're gonna break away from Switch 2, which our next monthly recap episode will be heavy about that. But today we're going to be talking about one of the definitely biggest games that came out this year and definitely one of the biggest RPGs that like shook the landscape, I'd say, and that's Clair Obscure Expedition 33. Now, I remember when this game got announced, I was excited for it. I mean, I thought it looked cool. It kind of reminded me of like Lost Odyssey slash Paper Mario with like the way the combat worked as far as you actually have to do inputs and stuff like that. So I was already like interested, but I wasn't expecting, I guess, it to be like as great as it is, especially as popular it is. Like everybody seems to love this game, even people that don't like JRPGs. And I played it a little late because I played 100 line first, which took a while. So I started after that. And even with all the hype, I got to say, it did not disappoint.
Yeah, no, I was really surprised by the general popularity of this game. I remember when it was first announced, people were really excited for it. They thought it was a really cool concept because you have the whole idea of the idea on the surface is that the paint that when you hit a certain age, you're basically you're dead, you
Right.
die from the gommage. And that really intrigued people, and just like the overall art style and just the overall the amount of like big name actors in this game with Charlie Cox and Ben Starr, like getting those two is huge. I was really surprised with how well received it was, given it was a turn based game.
Hmm.
But again, I think the fact that it's a turn based game and it doesn't look like it's not like it doesn't look like Persona,
Right.
where some people might be like, oh my gosh, I don't want to play that. This game looks more like one of those traditional Sony first party games, or one of those big AAA, EA 2K games, something like that.
Yeah, it's
Um,
funny going into it. I must have missed a lot of did it mostly get shown at like Sony's State of Plays or where did it get shown a lot
it
more?
was initially revealed at an Xbox show,
Okay.
actually.
Well,
I
that
can't
makes
remember
sense
which
too.
one it was, which Xbox show, but then there was some more stuff at I think the Video Game Awards last year, and then I remember at the January Xbox Showcase was the last trailer, because I remember they showed a lot of the enemy design in that last
Okay.
trailer. And the enemy design, to me, when I first saw it, I didn't think it'd be popular, because I'm like, these enemies look so we like there's such a we like you know what I mean. The design of these enemies are so
Yeah, they don't really have like
different.
they have like an identity, but also like they just kind of look like blobby things. Like they're not like
Yeah,
stylized enemies like from a lot of JRPGs. Like they just look like misshapen enemies that are kind of the same type.
they almost look like to me like what a person who was making like a fan made Souls game would make. Like
Right.
someone's trying to replicate like a Dark Souls game, but like they're making their own enemies. That's what it like reminded me of. So I came into the game a little trepidatious. I was like, one, they're only charging, they charge the $40 price tag.
Yeah.
Two, it's their first Sandfall Studios' first game. And then three, the enemy design to me, I was like, and then everyone was talking about how good it is played in like the previews. So I'm like, this is all way too good to be true. Like something has to be wrong with this game. And I think that just goes to show with like how we kind of go into modern games now. We're like,
Yeah.
this is too good. Something has to be wrong. But I am so glad I was completely wrong because this game blew me away and it's currently my game of the year. I'm not saying it's going to be my game of the year in the end. We still got another Trails game coming, and some other goodies.
DK.
Yep, DK and so many other games. So many other games.
Yeah.
But I was blown away. I really enjoyed it thoroughly. I played through it 3 times.
Oh wow.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I played through it once on Steam, and then I played through it on PlayStation, and then I did the New Game Plus on PlayStation as well. So, yeah, I blown away. Really, really great game.
Yeah, so for me, like I think I saw the initial trailer, but since I really only watch like Nintendo Directs, I don't watch really any of the other shows as much. So I really after that first reveal, which they showed mostly just the combat and a quick like trailer kind of showing the world and exploration, but after that I really did not see or hear. I mean, I heard people excited, but I didn't see anything about it. So I went in totally blind, and I know friends of the show, both Poot and Ed, gifted me this for my birthday this year, which was nice. So I was already thinking about getting it, but they got me that. And of course, our other friend Addy gave this the Addy token approval, which he was also very excited for it. But yeah, I was so yeah, then I had played it a little later than most people where everybody's been hyping it up and I'm like, oh boy. I try not to let like hype like bother me, especially like I try to remove myself completely from even like if you don't call it spoilers, but just like thought and expectation spoilers. Like I don't even
Yeah,
want to hear like, oh, this game's amazing, you're gonna like this part especially you're gonna love, because I feel like that kind of cheapens the experience because I'll be like, oh, I know this really good part's coming. So but with both this game and FF7 Rebirth, which were both very hyped to me, they both far exceeded and lived up to their hype levels. So it was definitely refreshing to see because I pretty much played them back to back. Like I said, I'd played 100 Line, but that was on Steam Deck mostly. So I played both Rebirth and this on my PC, and they both ran and looked great on it. So yeah, very excited. I think it's going to come down ultimately. I think this game will be a GOTY contender for everyone, including us, like you said. But between this and like DK, and I'm sure there's a few others. I'm not think Death Stranding 2 seems like it's pretty good too. So I think it'll might come down to those type of games at the end, but we shall see.
for sure. Yeah.
All right,
No,
so why
I'm
don't I
ready.
think we're just gonna kind of dive into the game. We'll talk about spoilers, obviously. So you haven't played it yet, you should definitely check it out if you're interested. But we're gonna kind of it's not a very long game, which I think is another. I mean, it can be long if you really dig into some of the side stuff and Act Three. But if you just mainline it and do some of the side stuff, it takes you under 40 hours, which for a JRPG that's pretty short, I would say. So
I think if you just mainline it and kind of just focus on the main story, I think you could probably do this in about 20 hours. I mean,
probably. I've heard between
if you
20
play
and
on,
30.
yeah, especially if you play on like the easiest difficulty, you
Oh
could
yeah, that's
probably,
true.
yeah,
So yeah, let's go ahead and dig into the prologue here. So when you initially jump into the game, the first person that you end up getting to know is a young fellow named Gustav. And
played by
again,
Charlie
oh,
Cox.
go ahead.
Played by Charlie Cox.
Oh, yep. And like I said, I really didn't know anything about this game, so I didn't know anything about the characters. But it's funny. when you meet Gustav and then you meet Mael right away. Is that how you say? I might mispronounce some
Yeah,
of these names because they are
yeah,
French
my
names,
Mael.
but yeah, I met Mael right away, and I'm already like, I really like this character, but I didn't expect her to actually be a main character. So I was really glad that she obviously is the main character by the end. But so
Mhm.
you pretty much do some training stuff with her and run through the city, and then you run into Gustav's past girlfriend Sophie, and you get to basically just walk around the environment, and kind of like you had said already, Sean, like people are getting ready because the next expedition sets off basically every year. There's like a countdown, and every year you get older, you're getting to the end of your life. And was it this, I think this was 32, right? So basically when you hit 32,
It's expedition third. It's the 33rd expedition. So when you are hit age 33, well, you hit age 32, you go on the expedition, but then
right, and then the
um
next year you'd be kaput
30,
basically.
yeah. What I found really interesting, because they didn't really dive into this in like the previews, is like it goes down each year. So not only is
Yeah.
it like, oh, if you're 33, it's not like every single time you hit 33 is when you die. It's like, no, next year it will be 32. The year after that it'll be 31. So it's funny that we talked about Mael. She's 16.
Yeah.
It's not like she has, she doesn't, she still goes on like the expedition with her, with you guys, because she wants to try to make a difference. But it's not like she has another 17 years. She only had 9 more years, even though she's only 16. So it is pretty crazy to think about how each year the expedition should most likely get smaller because there's going to
Hmm.
be less people around. It's actually funny when they go out on their expedition. They have like a big party after the Gomage,
Yeah.
which is a little strange to me that they have this like big party. It's kind of like a last celebration, but they. Some of the characters even joke around. I knew we'd have more tables than the last one. We have more
Hmm.
people, which is pretty funny. Um, One thing I found really interesting, I think I'd be excited to hear what your thoughts about this is talking to the various NPCs around Lumiere, Lumiere or whatever. Yeah, that's what it's
Yeah,
called,
Lumiere.
Lumiere.
Yep.
Yeah, um, they all act very differently. In terms of like response to the Gamage, like some of them are like, no, this is like our destiny, like we're supposed to die here, while others are like I am so happy, like this is like part of our life, we have to go on this like expedition, like this is it. It's kind of just like they've accepted like this is our life, and some people want to spend it their last year on the planet with their family, while others are like,
Yep.
no, I want to be part of changing it. So was really interesting to see the different responses from the various NPCs.
Yeah, because you can do a couple, like, I guess they would be called side quests, but they're like little things. Like you talk to like a dad who makes like a suit for his son that he wants to pass on, but his son's like mad at him and doesn't want to like see him,
Mm.
so you have to like give him. And then you also meet like a girl that like hates the expeditions because she thinks they're a waste of time and she doesn't want to help or do anything, but then by the end you actually convince her to maybe like support them and do them in the future. So I also think it's interesting that it's like they're always training people to like, well, because of course the theme of the game is like carrying on after. What's the line they always say? I went blank now,
for
but
those
it's
who
for
for
those,
those who come
yeah,
after.
for those who come after. Because like Gustav himself has like a little crew that he's training, because you write in the journal as you're on the expedition that
Hmm.
you want to leave to them, but they're always preparing for the future, which I think is cool. And I don't, have you watched Attack on Titan, the anime, or read the
Yes, I have.
manga? I
Yeah.
got so many vibes from that, like, because it's kind of like the same, at least premise to start. Like these people like are in this like city that's cut off from the rest, and then they have to go explore these unknown territories with this huge threat, which is the Paintress. And so it's funny because at the very beginning, I'm like, man, I'm getting a lot of Attack on Titan vibes.
Yeah, you're not the only one. That has been a very common sentiment, like around people who have discussed the game, and it's so true. Like and even the devs have said that they got inspiration from Attack on Titan. That was one of the inspirations they listed.
I wondered. I feel like it does like kind of veer away by the end, but at least at the
Oh yeah,
beginning,
sure,
like I
yeah.
very much got it because yeah, you go through the prologue and like his sister doesn't want, she's like the mayor and she doesn't want you to go. But then you get off on the island with your crew, everybody's like all fired up like, "Oh, we can do this. We're going to like everything's gonna go great, and then you run into
Renoir.
yep Renoir,
And
and
he
which
just
we don't know who he
completely
is at this time,
obliterates,
but oh yeah,
completely obliterates everyone. Like almost everyone dies. That at first I was like, holy, oh my gosh! I couldn't believe one how much they showed.
oh
Like
yeah,
very very bloody, very gory, very violent. And I was figuring that I don't know at the party area before you go on your expedition. Some of the characters that you spoke to on like who were part of the expedition. I thought some of them were gonna be like some of the main characters. Nope, completely blown away. They're dead.
yeah. I agree with you. I was just like, especially like the leader. What was, Alan? I think his name was the commander. I
Yeah.
thought he was gonna like play a big part in the game, but yeah, he dies pretty much instantly. And so yeah, pretty much everybody dies except well, Gustav thinks everybody but him dies. So you eventually start exploring around. But before we continue, I want to talk about the combat at the beginning a little bit
Okay.
because obviously the big thing about this game is parry. Like the parry mechanic is really important. Like you can basically take on enemies and that are way above your level if you can parry their attacks because especially when you get later on your counter attacks can just be so deadly. But yeah, so one of the first enemies you meet in Lumiere actually is the mime, and the
Yep.
mimes you get to fight throughout the game. And I always loved fighting them. Like I just thought they were so funny and like a cool design. Like they all had the same exact move set, no matter when you fought them in the game. It's just they hit harder and took more damage. So, but it's funny at the beginning. I'm like, oh, I had so much trouble fighting these guys, and then by the end. I'm like, oh man, I love fighting the mines. They're just so fun to fight. Like they got the hammer attack, they got the punch, head bash.
And they open up by putting the wall up.
Yep,
They
the
build like their
wall up, and you
internal
gotta
mime
break
wall.
it.
Yeah, I thought it was a really interesting. It kind of puts their own French spin on it because this is a French developer.
Yep,
Um, it was fun to find them, and then when you beat them, the reward you get is like
the costume
basically
stuff.
like
Yeah,
the essential like the stereotypical French clothing.
yep. So, what were your initial impressions of the combat? Because I know even a couple people were like a little concerned I might not like this game because of it. Which, again, like obviously we're both huge Paper Mario fans. I played a little bit of Lost Odyssey, but I never got to finish it. But I always want to. But it might be coming to PC now, I hope. But I wasn't like skeptical, but I was a little worried that I might not it might be a little too difficult, but at the beginning I think it was a little overwhelming. Like I didn't understand everything at first, but pretty quickly even into act 1, I feel like I was getting the hang of it. But what about you?
No, I love this combat system. Like you said, it reeks of that Mario RPG, that Paper Mario, that timing based button mechanic to either dodge or parry or counter. I love like this is like pure classic turn based combat where you can legitimately put the controller down when it's your turn, and you could walk away for 5 hours and come back, and it'd
Yeah.
still be your turn. I love the like the timeline almost they have at the top of the screen where you can see
Yeah.
when you're going to be going and when you're going to be next. And you can put like buffs on or debuffs on enemies to kind of to alter that timeline. I really enjoyed it. The attacks, pressing, timing the for on PlayStation the X button to try to
Mhm.
you know do a little bit more damage.
Yep.
That was good. Yeah, no, I really liked it, and the definitely the parry system took a little bit time to get used to, um, especially because all the enemies like the timing is different. It's not like on Paper Mario where to do a super guard and like Paper Mario the Thousand Year Door, there's a just a specific window you have to hit it in before the enemy hits you. And in this, it was much more difficult because the enemy's patterns are all completely different. And sometimes when you first encounter a new enemy, like you have no idea what the pattern's going to be
I know,
because
and like the further in the game, it's just like it feels. Which I've seen so many like meme videos of like the enemies in this game because it's like they'll dance around for like a minute or two. Sometime when you think they're gonna attack, you're like parry, 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 and then they don't do it, and then they just randomly do it, and you instantly die.
yeah. What I do like though is if you decide to dodge, and if they will tell you that this if you get a perfect dodge, it means that if you had parried, it would have worked, which is
Right.
really good. 'Cause that really helps for timing basis because the dodging was much more generous in like the timing of nailing it. But I really enjoyed it. I found the abilities awesome. I really liked how each character has like their own unique thing in combat. So for example, Verso has like the Verso, a later character, obviously. We meet him later. He
Hmm.
has like the rank system where it's like
Oh yeah.
yeah, like the S rank and the B, the A. That was really cool. Lune has like the elements that she can basically I forget what she actually calls them, but like she has all the different elements and there's some abilities tied to that. Oh my gosh,
My L.
Malay? No, Mael. I always want to say Malay. I don't know why I always want to say Malay. Mael has the stances, which is
Yep.
very much out of Lost. There's a character in Lost Odyssey who has that. And then Monoko, he can get the different abilities from the different enemies, which was really fun. I did find that there was a ton you can learn for Monoko, but I found myself using the same ones over and over again,
Right.
which is
Those type
funny.
of characters, I just never like. I use them sometimes, but I just usually end up not liking them. I know usually if you put the time into those characters, they end up being like the best character. But there's a character in FF6 who,
Yeah, Gao.
yeah, Gal. Like I don't really like
Yeah.
Gal as a character, but he's could be so strong if you get the right moves. So,
Yeah, the he reminds me of Donnie from Wild Thornberrys Gal
oh yeah,
out in the wild.
but
No, but
yeah,
yeah, it the combat was great. I really really liked it. It just took like I did all the optional bosses, and on those optional bosses, it was like especially when you get like further and further in to the more difficult ones, a lot of it was learning the boss's pattern, dying
right.
like 4 or 5 times before you actually learned it.
Right. And even like Gustav, like you want to power up his arm. That's like his big thing. Like, because if you
Mm,
power up his arm, then he does like a stronger attack if you wait till it's like fully charged. But yeah, at the beginning, I made myself learn to parry at the beginning, which is funny because we could talk about some of the gameplay criticisms now because there are a few. Like the difficulty, normal is like a little too easy, I feel like, for most people, and then of course expert or whatever hard mode call is a little too hard for some people. So I don't know if they could have added like an in between difficulty, but I did play most of the game on hard mode, and I'll talk about later, I played it on even harder than I should have because I was being dumb. But I think I think by so act 1, you pretty much, you're with Gustav, you're going through, you actually get to like a cave, and then you're ready to kill yourself because you basically think everybody's dead, and then Lune like saves you, which was good because I liked her from the beginning. I was hoping she'd be one of the main characters, but she's like, hey, I saw Mael or something about Mael, so then you go after that. But that's when I really started getting into the combat. And then
mm.
because yeah, you basically just have Gustav and Lune for a bit until you get to this weird like mansion area. Did you really think much of the mansion area when you got there, or?
So I think this is one of the big misses for them. I thought this was going to be so much more like involved in the story, and like it was going to be able to be used to be like fast travel between places,
Yeah,
or that there was going to be some like overarching thing with the mansion. This because it's when you meet Mael, you meet her at the mansion,
right.
and she but
And
I thought it was so weird because then later on you can find doors to go into
yep.
the mansion, but it doesn't matter where what when you exit, you just end up right back where you were. Like you can't use it as like a fast travel
You know, it
spot. Which
confused me at first for
yeah.
sure.
Did you try to explore some of the other rooms?
I did the first couple times, and then I just kind of got like bored of it because usually when you would open a new room, really there was like some cosmetic stuff and there was some story stuff in each room, but I really didn't find it that interesting. Now looking back on it, I'm like, oh, I would have dove more in because you find out a little more about it. But it's funny because that the guy that's in the mansion, which we can talk about later, like the guy who basically gets your weapons, he like upgrade your weapons. I'm like, I knew this guy was going to be important, and he was definitely later on. But going off more of the criticisms, a lot of people were mad that there's no like mini map in this game, which it's funny
Hmm.
because at first, well, when you go on the world map, there is a map. You can kind of look around and see. But when you're in like the specific areas, there isn't one. And at first I was like, oh, this is annoying because I'm used to having mini maps in games. And also I get lost so easily, like, especially in turn-based battle games where I'll fight an enemy and then it takes you to a completely different screen. I'm so focused on the battle that when I come out of the battle, I'm like, I completely lose my bearings. I'm like, oh wait, which way am I going again? So it was a bit of a struggle for me at first, but by the end, I actually liked it. Like, I really got good at paying attention to what where I've been, like the areas. There was one area later in the game where Mael's like final character quest is. It's like the top of
Mm,
Raven Tower or something. I don't remember the
yep.
exact name. I hated that area. That area needed a map because I got so confused where to go. But other than that, I really didn't miss it. What did you think about not having a mini map?
I love not having the mini map, to be honest. I think it made you like learn the overall areas much more. I actually remembered where I was going. I often find myself when there's a mini map just staring at the mini map the entire time. Like and just
Yep.
like looking. I'm like, all right, I know where I'm supposed to go, but I'm just like staring at the mini map. So I really enjoyed not having it. It's not like these were giant, expansive open world areas. These were
Right.
little contained, open zones. Um, so yeah, I really enjoyed that. I don't really see the criticism. I hope they don't patch it. I know that people really want it to be patched in. I don't see the need for it.
Oh yeah,
I
I
like
hope they
again, I
don't.
think I think it makes you have a better connection to the world. You actually have to learn where you're going because if not, you might get lost.
Yep. They
But
usually
yeah,
do have some type of like marker that you can follow too if you really pay attention. Because even in that area I talked about, there's like lamps or like firelights that once
yeah,
in
of
the one
course.
area I noticed, I'm like, oh yeah, you can actually just follow that and you can get there. So I will say there are two criticisms I do hope they patch, and that is a retry option after boss fights because
Yes.
that is very annoying. It's almost like Souls like you basically go to a save point and and the other one is they should let you save like manually. Like you can't like you can manipulate it by like changing your weapon before you get in a boss fight and it
Yeah.
automatically saves, but there's no reason to not have that like a retry button. Like that's just a common thing I would think you could add. Same with
Yeah.
manual saves. And I also think they really need to add like an auto advance text button. It's just so weird that they like you have to just push the button each time. I know it harkens back to the old JRPGs, but especially since it's full voice acting, it feels very like I don't know what just like very like choppy
Slow.
because
It
yeah,
feels very slow because
and
a
you
lot of times you're reading the dialogue before they finish saying it,
right.
and when you're doing like this is jumping forward a little bit, like when you're doing like the bonding stuff at the beginning, they say the same thing over and over again, and you have to just like sit there and watch it.
Right, I know. And it's just like it breaks the flow because you can't like the voice acting's so good in this game and it like has to just stop because you can't just listen cuz sometimes I'll just say like a word or two and then you have to hit the next button again. But I feel like those are easy fixes and those are really the only criticisms I had basically.
Yeah, no, same here. Really, I mean, the game was like pretty awesome. Not much to complain about. Um, Before we move forward, though, I want to talk to you about the Gestrels. What'd you think of them?
I was
I
just
really
going to
like
bring
them.
those up, yeah. I thought they were cool. Like yeah, I mean, I like going to their village, especially. That was one of my favorite spots in the game because there was like a huge hub like area where you could talk to them, and they had different. That's where they had like the arena and different things going on. But it's funny too because I feel like that game is where the performance suffered, at least on PC for me. Like it kind of struggled there for some reason. But yeah, I thought they were cool. You need kind of that weird like society or weird
Moogle-esque creature.
yeah,
Yeah.
for like the because obviously Lune was very interested in them, and most of the characters were, but that's where you end up meeting actually one of the main characters. What was her name again? This I always have trouble saying her name. Is it
Oh,
CL or
yeah, CL.
CL? Which
Yeah,
is funny.
she's
She
in.
was one like I did like her, but I did not use her very much. Like I
I
tried her for a bit, but I mostly stuck with Gustav, Mael, and Lune for all of Act One.
That's who I stuck with during Act One. I didn't even touch CL. But it's funny. That whole tournament aspect, I thought it was going to be like this big tournament.
I know.
It was so easy.
And so
Like
short.
the very common enemies, like common enemies you've already fought. It's just funny. It's funny though that the way the Gestrels act too, like it's almost funny that the characters treat the Gestrels like they're like almost like secondhand citizens, almost like how in Harry Potter they treat the house elves.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
they basically make fun of them right in front of them, right in front of the Gestrels. Like they talk down to them. The only one who shows like compassion to them is Mael.
Right. And I will say, who did you do the tournament with? Do you
Oh, I
remember?
did it with Gustav. Yeah,
Okay. See, I did it with Mael, which is good because I feel like that's like the weapon that she gets from winning the tournament is like one I used like the majority of the game because it starts you out in her oh, what's that mode called?
the double damage one, the 200%.
Yeah, it's like it
Yeah,
starts
it
with a
starts with a
V.
V. Yeah, it starts with a V. It's purple. It has like the purple logo.
Yeah, I was gonna see if
Yeah,
I could. I don't know if I can find it real quick, but
I think it's is it VIN? I think
like virtuoso or mode or
virtue something
something.
like that. Yeah, but yeah, that one is so good, especially when you get the perk that allows you to go over 999
Oh
damage.
yeah, yeah, that's
Yeah,
crazy. But yeah, it's funny because that tournament is really easy, and then right after you beat the tournament, you can challenge the leader of them to fight, and she just like destroys you. Like it's funny
yeah,
because I was like all confident. But I think after that point, there's like this boss that's running around like the mini map at that point that you're not supposed to fight. I found out,
yeah.
but I beat him easily on normal, and that's when I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go up to expert, and that's when I pretty much I stayed there for the most of the game because it does add like more attacks. Like you don't always get to see all the attacks if you fight on normal, but obviously, there's a big thing at the end of Act One we'll get into, but is there anything else before that in Act One that you wanted to shout out? The water
I want
area
to shout
was
out.
pretty cool, I will say. I thought, but
Yeah, well, that's gonna bring me. I want to shout out Eskia. I think Eskia is such an awesome character. He's so funny,
oh
like the
yeah,
giant. Yeah, he's basically like he basically serves as your airship and your boat later on in the game. He's just this giant, funny little like creature, and meeting him was so funny because him and his neighbor
yeah.
are oh god, what was the neighbor's name again?
I don't. He was like a
Um,
giant rock. It's funny because he only had like
yeah,
one attack the whole time, like that shot this giant like ice ray. But yeah, I don't remember
yeah, but
his
him and his
name.
neighbor had like, and he's like, I want my rock back. I want it back, and you have to go and try to find it. Um, yeah, no, I really enjoyed that whole part. I thought SKA's design was really cool. It reminded me of something out of. Do you remember Avatar: The Last
I was
Airbender?
just gonna bring that up,
Yep.
Appa.
Yeah, not it didn't. It reminds me of Appa, what you do with him, but like his actual look reminds me of. Do you remember the episode The Library
Oh yeah,
in
that
Avatar?
owl. Yeah,
Yeah, it reminds me of that. Like that's what I got out of it, which
yeah,
is
that's
like
funny.
so weird. Yeah. Um yeah, no, but I thought it was great. Act 1 was great. And yeah, as we find out at the end of Act 1, this kind of blew me away.
Yeah, so basically at the end, you find how do you say his name again? Renoir.
Renoir. Yeah,
Renoir
Renoir.
comes up
Yeah.
just as you're ready to leave. Like you're just all happy. You beat like a major boss, and Gustav and Mael are like skipping rocks, and he comes up and he just kills Gustav,
Yeah.
and
Which
I'm just like, oh, which it's so funny. After this happened, for some reason I thought Gustav looked a lot like him, and he also looked a little bit like Verso. So I'm like, I had this theory that there was like different timelines, like they were all Gustav from different timelines or futures, and they were all like that was him when he was older, and Verso was like a more experienced Gustav, but clearly that was not correct at all. But I thought it was funny that I got that idea randomly.
this really blew me away, and I couldn't believe that actually had happened. I was like, oh my god, like, I cannot believe it. The second though that because throughout Act 1, you've kind of learned that Gustav likes to take it slow and like skip rocks, and he has a
Yeah.
really good relationship with Maya. Maya's like his stepsister. And he's like, I just want to skip a couple more rocks. We're just gonna skip a few more rocks, and then all of a sudden you just see Renoir in the background just coming up and just oh my god, it was heart wrenching. But what is really messed up is that later in the game you realize that Verso kind of just stood there and
I
watched it
know
happen
he
because
admits it that
yeah,
he could have stepped in, but he wanted that to happen so it would kind of
yeah,
shake Mael up a bit because
very messed up.
you had seen with Mael like she was starting to have like nightmares with him, and then this other girl, I don't know if they named her, it was like a
Oh,
painter girl, but
at least it was Alicia.
oh, that's right, yeah.
Yeah.
But she was having a couple visions and nightmares, so you had seen like they hinted at it, but yeah, I wasn't expecting him to die, or even if he did die, I thought maybe he would come back, which he didn't. But it does shake you up because it like that's a lot of people like were really like dig in with the main character, like that's who they like like they put themselves as the game in the game as them. So when he changes, it's like, oh man, you got to change up your party, which I added Verso in as in spot without a second thought, but a lot of people
Oh,
actually did
Verso's
not.
so good. Yeah, which I am shocked because I thought Verso was the to me he's the best character in the game,
Yeah,
especially when you can get to the end game and you can basically start with like 9 of like the AP, whatever they call it. I can't remember what they
yeah.
call it.
It's
The
funny
9
because
AP, and you can start automatically at S rank.
yeah, that's crazy. Because I built my L to be like a all into to parry, so she was like a parry beast. Like I had her doing all the damage, like from parrying, and she'd change. And then Lune was my healer, and I also took her down like the fire route where she got like the fire spells, which was good because that would combo with my L, so I could get into that virtuoso mode from when somebody an enemy was burning or something. So
Yeah.
but it
I
did
think
take me it took me a little bit to adjust to Versa though because I did love Gustav's arm power up. Like that was my big damage breaker a lot of the times.
yeah. I liked Verso. I ended up liking Verso more right away, which is funny because I did really like Gustav, but I think it's so funny that when they first meet Verso, they're like, "Oh my gosh, he has white hair!" Like they are so blown away by the fact that he's old.
Right. Yeah, so yeah, so then you basically start as Verso and yeah, everybody's just kind of recovering from the shock of what had happened. Like obviously Mael takes it the hardest, but even like Lune, all of them are just kind of like shell shocked and that's when they like open up the character bonding, which I did not expect at all to be in this game. Like around the fire, like actually people had like levels, bonding levels, which I'm like,
Mhm.
whoa, I was not expecting that. So I don't know if they announced that beforehand or not, but I
From my understanding, they didn't. 'Cause I didn't see anything about it.
gotcha. All right, so yeah, basically the goal of Act Two then versus like I'm gonna help you guys get to where the paintress is, and he also, which all they don't all completely trust him, but they're like, ah, well, he seems like he kind of wants to help us, but they know that he has relationships with obviously Renoir, so he's like, okay, something's weird. But is there any part I know Act Two specifically? Obviously, you meet the other character we talked about. What was his name again?
Minoko.
Minoko. Which
Um,
it's cool that they had him in the party because it's a non-human character. But like I said, I really did not use him very much. So
Yeah, no, it's. I like how they name the acts. Like Act One is Gustav, Act Two is Verso, Act Three is Mael. So like
hmm
it kind of like centered on each one. Obviously, we understand Verso has ulterior motives. It's actually we end up finding out that he is Renoir's son, which was at first I kind of figured out somehow they were related. But like the overall whole plot, I had no idea. It's also interesting. This is when we kind of find out that the Renoir that we're killing is not the well that we're going after is not the actual Renoir. It's the painted version of Renoir, which is kind of
right,
crazy. And that the real Renoir is actually the curator who was originally helping you, which was originally he was helping you because he has ulterior motives as well.
yeah,
Um, that whole aspect after Act Two kind of blew me away. But specifically for Act Two, this is where kind of like you start really exploring more of the world.
yeah,
You spend a lot more time in the overworld. I really like the design of the overworld here. It reminds me of those PS1 SNES JRPGs, like where you're running around a map and that is like it looks small, but you can imagine in your head like when you're traveling across the giant continent, it's like it's taking days at a time.
yeah.
um I really like that. I liked the swimming aspect with SKA. I really like that. I just like the variety of the areas. Like there are some areas that you can be in like a dense forest, and then in other it's like almost like plains where everything is almost like
Yeah.
dead. I thought it was really cool, and then the whole idea of just trying to break the paintress's barrier. You have to go out and find these like two different axons.
Yeah, that was fun to do. Did you do the one that Verso recommended first, or did you do the other one
I
first?
did the other one first
Oh,
because I
that's
was like,
funny.
I'm doing the other one first.
Yeah, I did the
Um,
one Verso recommended because that's the one with all the emotions and masks, which I didn't. The boss fights really get crazy at this point. I feel like just like the spectacle of them, which
yeah,
the mask one I thought wasn't too bad. The other one was definitely one of the best boss fights in the game. I feel like with the dancer. I don't remember her name
yeah.
specifically, but
That dance one was so cool. Like it was just such it was like a performance when you're in the
right.
battle, which was awesome.
It's
The
funny because
masks was go on.
I was just gonna say I was worried how they would handle some of the boss fights where they're just so huge because like as far as parrying timing, but they did a good thing like where there's they have like a sound cue or there's like a certain cue you can tell because when bosses are that big and so much is going on, it can be hard to tell when an attack actually comes. But I feel like they did a good job of fixing that. So
Yeah. Um, what I one more thing about the gameplay we forgot to mention is that you have your little like your AP.
oh yeah.
And before you attack, you can do like a range attack with it, and that will take some of the AP away. And I thought that was really cool because it gives you a different aspect of gameplay. And there are even some enemies who basically 99% of the time dodge your regular attacks,
Yep,
but
the
sometimes you'll
floating
get hit.
ones.
Yep, the floating ones. And I thought that was a really cool idea. And with Lune, you get the elements that will
Yep.
build up into like the four, and there is a perk you can put on where when you use the whatever like spell your weapon, whatever like element your weapon is, that will give you that um like elemental like thing in your little diamond of elements,
Yep.
which I thought was really cool. I thought that was a really cool aspect of the combat, and it's a great way to break enemies when they have shields on them.
Yeah, because that can be really annoying. It's funny because that kind of reminded me a bit of Persona 5 with the
Yep.
guns. Like, obviously, this
Yep.
is a lot more in depth because you actually have to aim and hit like weak points and stuff. But yeah, when I first saw that, I'm like, oh, they definitely got this from Persona 5.
Yeah, and there was even some enemies, like I said, that were designed around it. Like, did you ever do those? Did you do those things where you're chasing the thing down into
Oh, yeah, the
like a
treasure thing. Yeah,
yeah. When you fight it, in order to kill it in time, you have to do that. You have to hit
right.
like the things floating around and it disappears at times. I thought it was really good. I thought it was a good addition. I just wanted to mention that. Oh, and one more thing, and at the start of Act Two, you learn how to it's the radiant
Oh, yeah,
the
Radiant Parry or whatever
the
it is.
radiant parry. When you hit a radiant parry, oh my
Oh,
god!
yeah, the
It just
time
it's like the
slows.
time so it zooms in. Oh, there's nothing like that. It just hits. I love that.
Yeah, everything just
Um,
feels really good. Like the pairing feels good. The Radiant one definitely does, and yeah, just everything feels great. Like I got, I really started like fighting those like really giant enemies. Like they were like bosses too, but they were the enemies. Like they always did the same thing. Like they would eat one of your party members, which forever I was trying to figure out if you could not let one of them be eaten, but as far as I could tell, you couldn't avoid it. Like I tried to dodge, I tried to parry, but yeah, they would always eat one, and then you'd have to fight with two
yeah,
people, and then sometimes they would eat the second member. But those were one of my favorite enemies or slash bosses to fight.
for sure. Yeah.
But yeah, we can
Um,
so continue in Act Two. Yeah, you talked about the part with the mansion, which when you find out that Renoir is Vesta's
yeah.
father or Versa's father, which was a pretty big point. That's when everybody is like, "I don't trust you anymore. You should have told us."
Yeah, no, for sure. I was actually just gonna get right back to that. Yeah, this is when we kind of reveal that Verso, we have ulterior motives here. The Paintress is actually trying to warn all these members of Lumiere that without her, like the world will disappear.
Yeah,
We learn that um, our Renoir, well, the Renoir that is in the game, who killed Gustav is doing this because he wants the world to keep living, which is funny because then you end up killing him with the help of the curator because the curator is the real Renoir who wants it to end because he feels that we need to get um, her out of the painted area. We need to get her out of the painting back to the real world. This is where the plot really goes crazy. And I
Right.
was like, I did not see any of this coming. You basically learn that you're in a painted world and that in the real world, the real Verso is dead. He died in a
Yeah.
fire. The person that Mael is based on is Aline, but then she has like no face because she got like severely burned,
Burn.
and the
Yeah.
mother is so upset. She's the one who's the paintress in the game. She's the one who goes into the painted world and is trying to live there forever, and she paints these fake versions of Verso and this like fake version of um basically makes all these fake people, and all the people in the real world they're called the paintress, and they're at war with the writers, which they don't really get into a lot of, which I am
No.
really curious if we get. I think we could get a future game where it's like more set like the writers versus the painters.
Right, I
Um,
could see that too. But yeah, basically the real Renoir, the dad, is trying to like save his family because he wants them all to face the grief of Verso's death. But yeah, the mom just wants to stay in there, but it's also like hurting them. Like it's not good for them to be in this painting. It's not like it's just like they're ignoring the real world. Like it's physically destroying them. Like it's taking a hard toll on them. So
mhm. Yeah, it is like it's super like this story is unlike anything I've like ever seen before.
right.
It really takes a strange, and it's such a drastic change. And I know this kind of turned off some people, but I actually thought that was pretty cool. It's very different, much more like a total like man behind the curtain moment. Like this is
Right.
fake.
Yeah,
Like this
because
whole world.
really in Act 2, you take it so like typical JRPG, you take down the Paintress, you think it's over, but that's when Act 3 starts and you're back in the real world, and then you're like wandering around her actual house, and you're like, oh, there's a lot more going on than just the Paintress is evil. We need to take her down for sure. But yeah,
Yeah, no.
Act 3 is a little bit of a controversial point for some people because just because of the way they handled some of the pacing. So I didn't do a whole lot of the side stuff in Act 3. I did all the character bonding, which they did a great job with that, by the way. We could talk about like you basically have I think it's 7 different levels with each character that there's always like one quest you have to go with them, and then you can romance Lune and CL, but or you have to choose one. But you get to it really fleshes out their characters, and I really like the quests that go with them because they're usually really good ones. Like Lune, you go find her parents, their expedition, then you find where they died and what notes they left. And like Mael, you go to that place I mentioned, and you have to like face off with yourself, basically, like the version in the painting, and then you get closure with that. So yeah, I feel like the character moments, I didn't expect them to be as good as they were. I thought they might just be tacked on like some JRPGs are.
Yeah, no, I totally hear you. I did all of like the side stuff after the beginning of Act 3, but if you don't, you can go right to the end of the game. It's very, very quick. You can just choose that. But yeah, the side stuff was awesome. I thought like even though I didn't use CL, I thought her side stuff
Yep.
was so
Yeah, it
super
was
cool
good.
with her husband.
Yeah, so one of the reasons that people were not happy and that I was like told to just do the character stuff and then do the final dungeon is because if you do all the side stuff and then go do the actual plot final dungeon, you're way too overpowered. And then I've heard of some people just like killing the final boss in one basic attack, and then that's the end of the game. So they definitely should have maybe balanced that out more because I don't know about you, but I'm the type who, when I want to be done with the game, I want to like finish the main story,
Everything.
hit the
Yeah.
credits, and be done. Like, I don't want to do that and then go back and do the side stuff. Like, I want to do all the side stuff before I hit the main ending of the game. And it's kind of discouraged, I guess, in this with this game. But I just figured I'll go back and do some of the deeper side stuff. But I mean, like I said, I was happy with what I played, and the final dungeon was satisfying playing it that way, I will say.
Yeah, I was way too over leveled for the end. I just like blew through the end because I did all the side stuff, including
Right.
the all those optional bosses who are like the hardest bosses in the game.
Yep.
Um, like by far, like the optional oh my god, it's like the endless tower. That was like
Yep.
ridiculous, like super super insane. But I really really liked it. It was awesome. As far as like the main story goes for Act Three, the ending is really interesting. How you have to basically choose between Mael and Verso. Like
Yep.
which one do you want to do? Where Verso wants to get rid of he wants everyone to leave, and he wants there's no good or bad ending.
Which one did
um
you choose first?
at first I chose Verso because again I just aligned with him a lot more, just like doing stuff, and I thought it was right. Like we're grieving, but we can't live in this fake world.
That's
So
exactly what I did. Like, I had a lot of sympathy for Renoir with, like, because I mean, he wanted his family back. Like, he was basically just like, you guys are just like empty shells, like in the real world. Like, he already had this problem before. Like, he got too into one of the paintings and they had to like pull him out. So, like, he knows the dangers, but so he doesn't want to see his wife and daughter facing the same fate. He's like, we need to go back to the real world, face Verso's death, and move on as a family. It's like I also see Mael's point, and if I were her, I probably would have done the same thing. Where it's like, I just want to be in this world where I actually have a life, like because in the real
I
world,
actually have a face.
yeah, I can't talk. I don't like, yeah, I
Yeah,
don't have a face. I'm miserable. So yeah, they both had arguments, but yeah, I thought Versa was the right thing, and I thought the ending was pretty good because it seems like they kind of all reconcile and move on together. Where the Mael ending is like more like it is cool, like they all are like all the people you like are there living and everything's
there's
going
no more
well.
gamage, and yeah, and everyone gets a happy ending. Not even a happy
Yep.
ending. Everyone gets they're happy, but they're living a lie. It's funny though because Alicia, aka Mael, aka Alicia, lies to Verso and lies to Renoir at the beginning of the Act Three. He says basically that she says like, no, I'm gonna get her out of here, and then
Yep.
in the end she's like, well, I'm not leaving. Like I'm it's not hurting me in the real world. And he's like,
Right.
no, it is. It is very like I said, there's no right or wrong answer. It's very gray.
Right. Yeah, because it kind of feels like because Verso's like obviously she stopped Verso and from stopping her, so there's like another version of him at the end. Like like plays the piano and stuff because that was always like something he enjoyed. But yeah, like you said, both endings have their like pros and cons. There's no like best ending. So, but yeah, I thought it was good that they were both in because they both felt like real endings too. It's not like one felt like tacked on or anything, at least. So.
For sure. I do want to talk to you about a little bit more about like the skill system and the level up system because you had brought up earlier that you did
Yeah.
something a little dumb. I wouldn't say dumb. I'd say just a little naive. But you want to explain what happened?
Yeah, so basically are they called looms or lumines? I can't remember what.
I just call them skills.
Okay, so yeah, you basically get these skill points and so you have like 3 slots to learn different abilities basically for every character. You find these things throughout the game like some will make your counters better. Eventually you'll get the one that makes the damage higher and stuff, but eventually when you use them enough you can actually use these points to permanently learn them and so you can replace them with other ones that you can learn and as you level up you can keep more and more abilities but yeah for some reason
Essentially like badge points.
right exactly but it's like I got it when they told me but I really didn't understand exactly what was going on or I didn't go into the right menus or something so essentially I played on expert and did not use any of that stuff until act 3 so I basically just had people have 3 skills the entire game and it was definitely a lot more challenging but then at the end like once I realized that I'm like oh yeah this makes it a lot easier when they actually can have so many different abilities but yeah so yeah for some reason I just did not catch on with that. I don't know if it's. I don't want to blame the game for not explaining. I mean, maybe they did, but I guess they didn't do it enough for me to really figure out what was happening.
Yeah, it's funny that it took you that. It's funny that I just can't believe you made it that far without even realizing it, cuz some of them are like really great. Like again, when you start act 3, you get they're called pictos, by the way.
Pick
Pictos.
those, yeah.
Yeah. They're called like Lumina, and then there's like pictos. The Lumina like enhances the pictos. I don't know, something like that. But the pictos are like essentially your badges. At the start of Act 3, you get the one that you can go over like 999. They have some really cool ones, like the energizing start, where you start with AP already. You start with +1 AP. You can get one where like you can dodge and you can gain AP. You can get one that allows you to go twice in a row. But there's one called Cheater. Did you use Cheater at all?
I'm trying to remember. It's been a while now. It sounds
Cheaters
familiar, but
Cheater's the one where you attack and then you go right again.
oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I use that on all of my characters. Oh, it's called you always play twice in a row. Some of it is really good. You can really there are really
Yeah.
good combinations you can use to like basically like really make your character extremely powerful. There's one where when you get killed you immediately are revived. Yeah, I thought it was a great system and you have to find them throughout the world, which is really cool. I really like the idea of, you can permanently learn them and then you don't have to equip them in those 3 slots and then it just takes up some of your like skill points that you have, your Lumina points. That's what it's
Yeah,
called, Lumina
Lumina
points.
points, that's it.
Um but yeah, I found it to be awesome. There's certain ones that are designed more, you can tell that are designed more for other characters. But the combo attacks were great. We can add the extra hit. I had like 3 hits on all the characters plus the extra. Yeah, overall I really liked it. The burning shots one was great, where like you're doing that little ranged attack and it automatically burns them.
Yeah, yeah. I used to, yeah, like I said, I pretty much went all in on the burning stuff with Lune. That's what I put her whole move set around, burning and healing, basically.
Yeah, I didn't do a lot of healing though. Like I did, I had a lot of I had a lot of like the ones where it was like you can't heal your character, but you do like 40% more damage. I had a lot of stuff like that, and I just relied on you know how you can do the gradient attacks too.
Yes, yep.
Well, Monoko has one, or Monaco, however you say it. I've heard it pronounced both ways. Has one where he puts you get regain on you, so like each turn you gain a little bit of health, but then you also get 3 shields put on you,
Oh,
and
yeah,
you can
yeah. Yep, I did
yeah,
that one, yep.
and you can stack that. So I had so many shields sometimes. It was great. Overall, I really like that system. I thought it was really good. It's like a unique kind of a combination of like the Esper system from Final Fantasy VI, where you're learning the spells, and a combination of the badge system from Paper Mario: Thousand Year Door.
Yep. Yeah, it's funny because after I discovered the system, like, oh yeah, this is actually pretty good. But it was pretty late into the game by then. But I'll definitely. I guess there's a couple other people who didn't realize what that was at first either. But obviously, you can play the game without it, so we pretty much can. It just makes it a little harder. It's like a built-in hard mode, I guess.
Yeah. But like I said, I really, really enjoyed that aspect. I also liked the skill tree aspect because it didn't. It's not like the skill tree wasn't like obviously you have the points to allocate towards your strength, your agility, and all that. But then you can learn these skills or abilities that are unique to each character.
Hmm.
But those didn't feel like you know you have to go in a certain direction. You have to do a certain way. Like those didn't affect like how strong you were, which was good. Did you have any favorite abilities?
I'm trying to think exactly. I always like the ones that would like when you parry, it gives you more like points. Those were good. Or it would like I liked where you could do like double attacks and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, what about the like specific skills that each character can learn? For example, the one where Lune uses like it's called Elemental Genesis, where
Oh
she can
yeah,
deal
yeah, that was a good.
extra
I
damage.
liked her a
Yeah.
wildfire one too, where basically like you would just keep recasting fire more and more each turn. Like that's all you
Hmm.
could do. But if you, as long as you don't get damaged, I thought that was a good one. My ally always did the one that kept her in the virtuoso stance. I don't remember what the attack was called now.
Hmm.
She also had the one that used like almost all your points, but it did so much damage. I like that one too. Verso, I almost always did his double attack where you like it took like 7 ability. It was like the double. I don't
I know what you're
remember
talking
what it
about.
was
Yeah.
called, but yeah, that's the one I
My
did a
favorite
lot
one
for
was
him.
my favorite one was Phantom Stars. It deals the extreme light damage to all the enemies. It costs 9 AP, but if you're an S rank, it only costs 5. And I always
Okay.
had it set up where you could like start it right away. It like I thought some of the abilities were really good. The only thing about that is the game does not really incentivize you to use other skills. Like once you have the ones you want, like you can just use those ones.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot of variety you can use with that stuff, which is nice because it gives you like when you go play it again, since you have basically 5 to 6 characters, you can have completely different builds for it. It can make the playthroughs different at least each time, which is nice. Did you have any favorite bosses in particular?
Favorite bosses. I really liked the so did you do the Endless Tower?
No, I never did that.
Okay, so for the Endless Tower, not the final boss, but on like there's 11 levels of the Endless Tower and there's three like stages for each tower. And like the
Hmm.
last stage of the tower is basically like a boss fight until you get to like level 9, because then level 9 like everything's just a boss fight. And a
Right.
lot of them are like rehashes of older bosses, like they'll have like 3 or 4 bosses like together, which is kind of crazy. But when you get to stage 10 in particular, you fight um remember the chromatic, they're like it's called like the chromatic chevalier, they're like
Yep.
knights.
Yep.
Yeah, you fight them again on stage 10, but they're like beefed up, and there's two of them. Like you fight the steel one and the gold one together,
Hmm.
and these were like insane. Also on stage 11, you fight Renoir again, like the curator form of Renoir,
Yeah.
and the paintress together.
Ugh. Yeah, that'd be rough.
Um, that was really good. Those were really good. I liked the bosses. I don't think there's any like that particularly like I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is so amazing.
Yeah. Some of the
But
ones that like stood out to me, the one that's like the rock guy that just keep like you just have to keep parrying, like
oh
like,
yeah, yeah.
which I'm also like sometimes I'm like this is ridiculous. Like he attacks like 10 times in a row sometimes. I'm like, "All right, okay." Like enough is enough, but yeah, like I said before, I like those giant like enemy boss, like some of them were bosses, some were just enemies like, and the mimes of course, they were always fun to fight and see what kind of crazy look they had.
Hmm. There are. Oh, I'm trying to think. There are some other optional bosses. Like one of them takes away your AP at every single turn.
Oh
I ended up
yeah.
beating it, but like you really have to like do a certain build craft. It's really it's you can encounter it on the main map by it's like high in the sky.
Yep.
Um, did you fight the? I like the stalactic. It's like a giant like it reminded me of like the ice titan,
I'm trying to remember
but
where.
it can change into fire. If like you hit it with a fire move, it will change into
Oh yeah, I
fire, and
did
if you hit it with
fight
ice,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that multiple times because it was a good experience. But yeah, no, overall, I thought the designs were really cool. Like I said, at first I was a little hesitant, um, but I came in open minded and was like totally blown away.
Yeah, I agree. Like this was definitely one of the best RPGs of the year and just best games of the year. So it definitely lived up to expectations, and I'm glad we both got to play it. And like I said, if it comes to Switch 2, I would definitely get it again to play on that, which I don't know why it wouldn't, but who knows.
I think it will.
All right, was there any I think I pretty much said everything I can think of. Was there anything else you wanted to talk about before we wrap it up here?
No, I just thought like we had already said, the game's amazing. Performance by the actors are amazing. I love Ben Starr, so I love Verso. Just overall, great cast, great game. Highly recommend it.
Yeah, I don't know if so. Would you want a sequel from them, or well, you did talk about with the writers, or would you just want like a completely new game from them?
I have a theory what they're gonna do. I have a theory that the next game will be called Clair Obscure colon something. I don't know what it's gonna
That's
be, but
probably a
I feel like
smart move.
maybe this is like their Final Fantasy where they're just gonna name it Clair Obscure and then
Just different
something new.
expeditions. Yeah,
Maybe not even different expedition, something like new. And I think maybe like
true.
the one constant in the game will be like the Gestrels, they'll be like the Moogles.
Yep, that would definitely make
And maybe
sense.
the mimes will stay. Maybe the mimes
Yeah,
will
you
stay
got to
too.
keep the mimes in there, and they could always have like different character cameos, like even if they're not involved in the plot, like you see Verso like as a poster or something somewhere, something like that.
Or we just play as the mimes. You play Expedition 33 from the mimes perspective.
I would definitely be good with that because like I said, I really like the mimes. So, but yeah, I think yeah, I definitely enjoyed talking about it today, and I'm sure we'll talk more about it at our top 10 games of the year because I would put a hefty bet on that it's going to be on our list somewhere. If it's not at the top, it'll be top 3, I would say at least. So,
For sure.
but yeah, thanks for joining me today, Sean, and thank you all for listening. As always, we enjoy talking about this stuff, and we'll catch you guys next time. Sayonara.
See ya. Let us know what you think.